Hello, and welcome to You, Me, and the Community, a public affairs program dedicated to showcasing nonprofit organizations and their purpose for serving the community. I'm your host, Jeffney Gray. Thanks for joining us. Today, we will be looking at another two organizations that have been around for years, building a foundation so that you, me, and the community will have opportunities to better our lives. They serve a purpose to help people in their time of need so that they could provide food for their families and provide support and love to those deprived of a homely environment also. Our first organization operates an interfaith food pantry serving many residents here in Craighead County. They work right out of the basement of the Huntington building near downtown Jonesboro, and because of them, many families in need of food and nutrition are able to fill their dinner tables with many donations provided by the organization and its volunteers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Helping Neighbors Food Pantry.
All right, the food that we're unloading right now comes from the food bank, Northeast Arkansas Food Bank. And food is donated to them, or they have some purchasing that they do. And then we, then in turn, they help pantries. They deliver to pantries, we deliver to people, is the difference between the Northeast Arkansas Food Bank and us. And we're Helping Neighbors Food Pantry. Here's the bags. And those are the individual packets for a base, what I call a basic load, or for an individual. But it's added to. Here's where they put together the bags based on the types of dry goods that are here.
I love it because we're able to help out the community, help out those who are maybe struggling a little bit, and make sure that everybody's taken care of.
Foods that we add to, or add with, not only with the basic load, we usually get off of these shelves. As you see, these shelves are getting empty. We really need additional help.
I think it's a really cool place that they're helping out the neighborhood and they're helping out these people who really need it. I mean, the staff is wonderful here and I just love being a part of it.
We're here to feed people, and if we think someone's hungry, we're going to feed them whether the computer says it's time or not.
A whole lot of people coming out here because there's a lot of us trying to get a meal each and every day. And then wake up and then knowing that they're in the refrigerator. But the Lord bless us, be out here, have these churches open for all of us, have a good warm meal.
We're here at the food pantry today, and we help put sacks together for people who are in need of food. It's a great work, great opportunity to help our community and people who are in need, seniors and parents who without jobs. It's a great way to help our community.
So, Mr. Terry, you really like it here?
Yeah.
Representing the Helping Neighbors Food Pantry of Jonesboro, let's welcome to the show Board President, Mr. Paul Howe. How you doing today? Great to have you. Just have a seat. Now, working with the food pantry, and I went there, and there was so many different things, and there are so many food. I would like to know, what is the history of the food pantry?
Well, various churches within Jonesboro were trying to reach out to help individuals that had hunger insecurities and weren't able to do it on their own. So in 1995, they decided to have a summit and gather all of the various ministers and board chairs of the various churches together, and they decided that they could work better together than they could separately. So they established the Constitution or bylaws that we go by, again in 1995, so we've been in existence about 18 years. And we've grown from the beginnings. We were about 10 churches. Now we have 28 churches that have banded together, and we follow the bylaws with a board of directors, of which I am the elected president of that board of directors. And we also have Liz Ivner that will be on in a few moments, that is our operations manager. She's also our treasurer too. We're located at the corner of Vine and Huntington is where we're at.
All right, now what do you do on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, and we're operational from Monday through Thursday from 10 to 2. And we take in clients that, as I said, have hunger insecurities within us, and that is growing larger and larger each and every year since I've been with the pantry. They go through a questioning processing and to determine how many are in the family, how many where they actually live, because we only work in Craighead County, and they determine the basic needs that they have and their level of income, and if they meet the poverty guidelines that are established by the federal government, and that's what we go by, then they are granted food from us, and we package the food based on how many are within the family and the need of the family.
That's good. Now, how many pounds? Like, I know you got thousands pounds come in every year. So, how many come in exactly? And like, where does it come from?
All right. Let's start with the poundage and some statistics about us during this last year. This last year, we served over 8,939 households, wow, which included 23,890 people. We gave out 302,392 pounds of food by all volunteers. We have no one that is paid at the food pantry.
Wow.
So anyone that donates, it all goes to helping people, people in need. Your question, second part of your question had to do with where does the food come from, and it comes from a great many sources. First of all, our primary is from the churches that support us, both with donations of funds and in food drives that they have. There are a lot of businesses that have stepped up to the plate to help us and donate food, donate funds to us too. We also have a lot of schools that do some drives for us that are great. And that we have some organizations like the Street Rod Association and the Cruisers, Craighead County Cruisers, that raise food for us too, and money.
That's great, Mr.
And the
House.
Craighead County Retired Teachers. I got to get in the Craighead County Retired Teachers.
That's
too.
great. Well, thank you so much for that information. We're going to continue with more about the Helping Neighbors Interfaith Food Pantry after the break. And up next, we'll have the operational manager of this organization joining us also. Stay tuned for more of You, Me, and the Community. Welcome back to You, Me, and the Community. Here with us, we have the board president of the Helping Neighbors Food Pantry of Jonesboro, Mr. Paul House, and joining him is operational manager and treasurer, Mrs. Elizabeth Ivner. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
We're happy to have you here now. I know you've been working with the food pantry for a while now. Can you tell us, how can someone become eligible to retrieve food?
We use 115% of the poverty guidelines as a measuring stick for whether they are eligible income-wise. They have to be members, they have to live in Craighead County because we only chartered for Craighead County. And they just can come in. They have to bring Social Security cards for all the members of the household, proof of address, so that we know they live in Craighead County, and proof of income. And we're computerized, so we put all that information into our database, and it will tell us whether they're approved or not.
Well, that's great. Now, how many volunteers do you have working with the food pantry? I know you got a lot of them.
Right. We have in excess of 50 volunteers.
Wow.
That kind of float, it changes from time to time, but approximately 50. We work with 2 shifts a day, 4 days a week, so some volunteers come once a week, some come once a month. It just varies as to how much time they can spend.
So are we talking, like, what kind of volunteers? Are we talking students, teachers, other organizations? Who all comes in?
Well, actually, I could say yes to all of the above, but most of our volunteers that come on a regular basis are retired people. I mean, because you really can't donate that time if you're working. But we do have, some of the churches will bring in groups of students. This last summer I had quite a few students from ASU that were getting volunteer hours. So just a variety. We've had teenagers and we've had elderly people.
That's great. Now, I understand that you all are highly active throughout the community. What all have you done in the past?
Well, we seek, because we do have such a need, to get groups involved so that we can raise as much funds, as much food as we possibly can. We have a couple of things that happen every year. The Love Boat out at Cash Savers, which they bring in a fishing boat and people fill it for food as they're shopping. Crawley's Ridge Cruisers and some of the other car shows have a car show, and you vote for which car is the best by packing food in front of their cars. And we are the recipients of all of that food, which is really great. And then we have some organizations that do it periodically. Several of the schools in Jonesboro did drives for us last year. And the Curves, for instance, some businesses will do that.
Well, thank you so much. It seems like you have done many things. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few pictures of the different events that the food pantry has participated in. Well, that definitely was a sight to see, and we thank them so much for sharing that with us. The presence here on the show is highly appreciated. Up next is another organization that has had a major impact on many foster children around Northeast Arkansas. We'll be back with a group that will definitely touch your heart. Stay tuned with us. Welcome back to You, Me, and the Community, a show that focuses on publicizing nonprofit organizations and their purpose for serving the community. Again, I'm your host, Daphne Gray. Thanks for joining us. Right now, we have an organization dedicated to fighting for children in need of a place to call home and a family to love them. Take a look at this.
One of the great things about being a CASA worker is that you're one of the most stable people in that child's life. DHS workers change, they change foster homes, they go in and out of the home, of their own home, but with their CASA worker, you are the one person that never changes through that child's entire time in the court system. So it feels great to be that one stable person for them, to give them stability and make their life a little bit normal.
A lot of effort put forth by everybody to make sure that the kids are being served and protected, and that their ultimate goals are going to be what's in their best interests.
Our volunteers often make significant progress with the cases. They help them move along more quickly. It's national statistics show that with a CASA volunteer on a case, the children are less likely to come back into care once they do reach a safe and permanent home.
You really get attached to the kids. You care what happens to them, and sometimes we're limited in what we can provide to them or what we personally may think would be the best thing for them. It's not something we can always make happen. And so that's probably the hardest thing, is just to have to realize that you're doing all that you can, and sometimes it falls short of what you wish you could do.
Representing the CASA Organization, Executive Director of the 2nd Judicial District, Mrs. Donna Lamb Boyer.
Thanks for having me.
More than happy.
It's awesome to be here.
No problem. The CASA organization, it touches my heart because it involves children and involves love. And I want our audience out there to know what is the definition of CASA? What's the history behind it?
Thank you. CASA is court-appointed special advocates. There are more than 900 organizations just like ours across the country.
That's good. So what's the whole history behind it? Like, what does it do?
Our
What is it
organization is 18 years old, and many organizations are older than that even. Our group provides volunteer advocates for children in foster care. And the 2nd Judicial District is 5 counties, going from the very northern part of northeast Arkansas at Clay County down through Mississippi, Craighead and Greene, and down to Poinsett County. So we represent all 5 counties. And would you believe that last year there were more than 600 children in foster care in those 5 counties?
Wow, that's a very serious deal. Now, I know you became a part of this organization because you had an encounter or a history. What is your past with how you started with CASA?
Yes, my husband Don Bowyer and I, and Don is the Dean of Fine Arts here at Arkansas State. So we became foster parents years ago in another state, and we gave those children some unique opportunities, I think. We were in the music department for concerts frequently.
Oh, wow.
And one of the 10-year-olds that we had at one time said, "Do we have to go hear Beethoven again?" But I think it was a good learning experience for all the kids that we had, and the kids were just great. The parents sometimes were having struggles and difficulties, but we were foster parents for several years. When our schedules changed at work, we could no longer serve in that function, and I became a volunteer advocate in not this community, in another community, and learned what it means to serve on a case and be responsible for children, to be their voice back to the judge, to let the judge know how they're doing and what they need. And that's what CASA is all about.
Yes, that's a blessing. What do you look for in your volunteers specifically?
Well, a volunteer needs to have a big heart for children. They need to be calm, cool, collected, and kind. And they need to be 21 years old or older. So some of the students here at ASU could volunteer, certainly. We have volunteers of all ages, all walks of life. They have to be able to meet with the children and be their voice in court, as I've said already, and also to investigate the case that all the people that are involved in this child's life, and how to bring as much information as the volunteer can to the court to make everyone aware of the situation. The CASA volunteer spends more time than the other folks involved in the case, because social workers have a large caseload. There's files on their desk are this high. The attorney ad litem the same way. So the CASA volunteer often is able to provide extra support to everybody that serves on that case.
Wow, so the different volunteers that you do have, they consist of teachers?
Yes.
Like, can you go through the list and tell me how exactly that is?
Some people are retired. Some people, we have a retired school teacher.
Oh.
Some teachers. We have just an amazing range of folks. We have 2 volunteers right now who are actually trained attorneys.
Really?
So boy, are they helpful when it comes to being in the courtroom. And that's something our volunteers do occasionally, is bring those reports to the court with our staff's help in writing them, and then sometimes are actually called to testify on cases. And that's one way they make a huge difference in the lives of these children. These children don't, when they have a CASA volunteer, they do not stay in care as long.
Oh man, that's a great deal right there. And how many children do you think on a daily basis come through the system?
Well, we talked about more than 600 in a year, and each county is different because of the population and the makeup of the county. But at any one time, there are 300 or 400 children in the system in northeast Arkansas, and that number is not getting smaller, unfortunately.
Wow.
So we need more volunteers.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get on, touch on that. Joining us next is another guest that can easily provide more information about how to volunteer for court-appointed special advocates. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to You, Me, and the Community. Right now we have Mrs. Donna Boyer here from CASA, pleased to have you. And also joining us is another individual that has recently joined the CASA team as a volunteer recruiter and trainer. Let's welcome Mrs. Destiny Richmond. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
That's great. Now, of course, one of my workers came out, crew members came out to the organization and sat down to talk with you. I would like to know from your own personal perspective, what effect does this organization have on the community? How does it benefit it?
Well, one of the biggest things with CASA volunteers is when a child is in foster care, they go from foster care to foster care so many times. DHS workers change. They're in different courtrooms. They see different caseworkers. But with our volunteers, they are the one person in their life during this time that does not change. Our CASA volunteers provide stability and a common face and a common ally to be their voice that does not change. And that's the biggest impact that we have on a child, is just that sense of, I have someone that is here, I can always count on them, they'll always be there for me.
Mm-hmm. And what's your history with this organization? Like, how did you become interested to jump into it?
Well, I first became interested in child advocacy at home in Mississippi County, doing community service with children. During law school, I was an advocate at the Children's Law Center. And that's when I first learned about CASA and all of the great work that it does. And when I came home, I had the opportunity and I saw it, and I was actually in training to be a volunteer advocate. That's how important this organization really means to me. I was in training, and I was going to be a volunteer advocate and give my time to children. And then the opportunity came for me to join the staff, and I jumped on it. It was an awesome opportunity to really make a bigger difference, to recruit other people who have a heart like we do to serve children.
That's great. Now, I know you are a recruiter.
Yes.
What's the criteria for somebody? Like, what do they need to go through to be a volunteer? What steps?
Well, first, like Donna said, you need to be 21, at least 21 years of age. You have to have a mature mindset, a big heart. We require about 30 hours of training. Some of that is about 3 to 4 or 5 weeks, about 3 hours a day, 1 day a week in our classroom. And then there's also independent study time. There's also a court observation, which is a great opportunity. You go in, you see the court, you meet the judge, the attorney ad litem, and everyone, like all of the other players at the table, there to help the child. And you really get a sense of what goes on and learn a court proceeding. And we also ask that our advocates give 10 to 15 hours a month just to meet with the child and see. And you're required to actually do a court report on your findings and interview every person who's in that child's life. We interview so we can get a great grasp, rather, of what's going on in that child's life.
That's great. Now, before we conclude, I want to talk to Mrs. Boyer about this thing called Run Crazy for CASA. Can you explain that
You
for
know,
us?
Run Crazy for CASA actually started on ASU's campus a few years ago, and it is a fundraiser for the organization. It brings in between $10,000 and $20,000 a year, so that really helps us. Where the grants stop, some local funds have to pick up. And that race involves hundreds of runners dressed in crazy costumes early November each year. So if you have your Halloween parties and you realize that you don't want to give up Halloween quite yet, then come out for Run Crazy for CASA 5K, 10K run in your costume, and you get one more wear.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
You guys are great.
No problem. Your word is very needed here. Again, let's give thanks to our earlier guests, the Helping Neighbors Food Pantries of Jonesboro, for coming out to spread the word of a good cause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like our show is coming to an end, but before it does, again, keep in mind that it's not all about you, and it's not all about me, but it's about serving the community. Thanks to all of our guests for coming out, and thanks to Home Place Furniture for furnishing our set. Join us next time for more outstanding nonprofit organizations here on You, Me, and the Community. I'm your host, Daphne Gray. God bless.